Hi everyone, welcome to today's video where we're gonna have a look at a few electric vehicle market companies like Tesla. Obviously, we have Li Auto, Nio and Xpeng. Today has been a really bad day on the market, especially for American stocks. You can see that Tesla is down 6%, but also Nio not doing great, and Nio essentially is stuck in this area around $4. So going back to the weekly delivery numbers, after a really strong year for Nio and Xpeng, remember, look at my wording now, compared to Tesla, right? Because we know that Xpeng has been doing great and Nio had, I would say, quite a bad start to this year. But despite all of that, Nio and Xpeng combined have outsold Tesla all weeks other than one for this 2025 in China. But now this week it's a little bit different. Tesla came in very strong with the new updated Model Y Juniper at 12,400 cars deliveries, which is around 1,000 more than Nio and Xpeng combined. I do expect Tesla to be quite strong in the up and coming 2 or 3, 4 weeks, maybe even 6, 7 weeks. But as we go into the year, I think they're gonna still face much harder competition, not only from Nio and Xpeng, also from Zeekr and all the other Geely brands, and as well, you know, the Xiaomi car and the Huawei brand. I think there's a few of them. So yeah, and then we have also obviously Li Auto, the electric, let's say, hybrid car manufacturer as well, in the green. So still a good week. I think we are, you know, a little bit up compared to the week numbers in January and February. Now going specifically to Tesla compared to Nio and Xpeng, we can see the white is Nio and Xpeng, the red is Tesla, and yeah, so the white bars usually has been the better, other than this last week and also this week 6, I think, yeah, the Chinese New Year week. But other than that, I think Nio and Xpeng are really going to continue to outsell Tesla most of the time. Going to the other stuff, we can see here that for 2025 numbers for Nio, I told you that I was expecting much higher numbers despite, you know, the yearly kind of January and February being usually bad months. I still expected the Nio to be at least, you know, around 20,000 sales these 2 months on each one of them, but they came in at around 13,800, and I think I haven't updated this bar here. It also came in at around 13,100, whereas Xpeng came in at 30,000, right? So it's we can look at it specifically here. Yeah, so Nio 13,192 and Xpeng well at least above 30,000. Li Auto still range bound between 20 to 30,000 over the past few months now, and BYD in league of their own. And the Tesla numbers we currently do not have. So looking at all of this, going back to specifically the evolution from Nio's green bars, which is 2023, blue, which was last year, and the gray that are this year. Now, are we gonna see 30,000 in March? Honestly, I don't know. It's very difficult to say. It's possible that Nio will finally now again have this. You know, they are so uneven. Sometimes they, like, after these really bad performances, they just like jump up, not just a little bit, but quite much. And after seeing this last weeks of numbers, where they came in still at, you know, 4,900, almost 5,000, essentially doubling the numbers that they had just 2 weeks ago. I think it's possible, but I wouldn't count on Nio delivering, you know, 30,000 cars. And speaking of those delivery numbers, we have a problem. And I'm sorry to say that, you know, let's go back to the comment from official higher ups in Nio management. I think this came from CFO. 16,000 on-board deliveries for January. The entire company sold 13,800, but the goal was to sell 16,000 just from onboard, right? So they never obviously passed that. March, 20,000. Again, you know, it's very difficult there. At 1,900 for this current month, for essentially most of the days were in February. But Onvo right now on the last week had 1,800 deliveries, and that is quite a bit from our target of, you know, 20,000 deliveries in March, because then they have to deliver almost 20,000 cars, and we are already in the 6th of March. I don't know, difficult to say. Again, for the love of God, would love to see the management to be a little bit more cautious. Let's go to the earnings report and we can see the guidance that they gave. the guidance, remember, this is Q3 earnings report, right? And we are almost into the second quarter of 2025, and we still have not seen the Q4 earnings report. And although that Xpeng actually announced that on 18th of March they're gonna have their Q4 numbers, Nio still has not announced it. Why is that? Well, I do believe the reason for that is they like to give, as I was supposed to show you here, they are kind of usually giving you a guidance after the earnings release. We are gonna deliver this and this many cars, right? So let's scroll down to what they said on Q3 numbers. On Q3, they gave an outlook for Q4 at 72 to 75,000 deliveries. Now, in Q4, the deliveries we know are just between that. So I think just below 74,000 cars, so that's good. But remember that Nio is very late in reporting their earnings, and we are already almost finished with Q1 of 2025. Still no date for Q4 earnings, essentially last year's last quarter. I think it has a lot to do with the exceptionally bad numbers of deliveries these first 2 months of in January and in February. Again, let's go back to the deliveries. If you add these two numbers together, we are just above, you could argue we are just above 27,000 deliveries, right? For January and February. And even if they have a 30,000 deliveries in March, which is a tough ask, they would be at 55,000, which is well below even my own expectations. You know, if you go, my expectations that I had by late last year about early this year, I was like going for 84,000, and I think I got a lot of criticism from a few people that it was way too conservative, especially looking at, you know, they've been at 57,000 in Q2 of last year, increased that to 62,000 in Q3 last year, and almost 74,000 in Q4 of last year. So I don't think 84 would have been that huge of an increase, right? But now we are talking about delivery numbers are, I guess, around 50,000, give or take. And that is the real issue. That's 30,000 below the numbers that I was expecting. And that's going to obviously affect this whole column here in terms of total revenue and so on and so forth. Now, on the good side, though, if you go to the, you know, some of the other, the infrastructure for Nio, we can see that the average daily swap is around 100 to 90,000 over the past few months. Definitely much higher the average of daily swaps that they had at this time last year. But also, we are almost 50% higher up in terms of number of stations compared to last year, which means that the average swap stations, the average swaps per station is going up. We were in the low 20s and now we are in the low 30s. But it's gonna take a little bit longer time since they are increasing their swap stations. But enough with this whole swap station thingy, because I think I made my point clear about this over the past 6 months. But yeah, so then quickly looking at the lithium carbonate price, still stuck in this kind of low levels. If you zoom out to the 5-year chart, you know, it's very beneficial to have this kind of lithium carbonate price, which is a big part of the cost of the battery, not kind of skyrocketing again and being stabilized at this kind of low level almost over the past year now. So that's great to see. And then, yeah, the stock price at 4.23 currently, and you know, the market cap of 8.6 billion US dollar. Again, Xpeng has really performing over the past 2 or 3 months. Something that I talked about over the past 6 months, that it might have in the short term been a better option. It turns out that was the case. I'm sorry to say that, but that's the honest truth. And this is because they simply, you know, they say what they're gonna do and they deliver. Whereas in Nio's case, the CEO, the CFO, they promise a lot. Sometimes they deliver, sometimes they don't. And the market doesn't like that, you know, you might have one good day, one bad day. They want you to be great every single day, right? And this is the problem, part of the problem with Nio. Again, doesn't change my long-term view on Nio. I do genuinely believe that this is a company for the future. But I'm telling you about the company and the car. The stock price, I don't know. Like, they don't care about the stock price, the management. So for all we know, it could take a little bit longer before we see some sort of substantial increase after this, let's say 4 or 5 years of utter destruction of the, you know, the, if you've been owning the stock, right? Look at the 5-year performance. Like if you look at since the peak, I think, yeah, sure, it says 13% up over the 5 years, at least it's up. But that's, most of the people obviously didn't buy at these lows in 2020, right? They bought at least in late 2021. So yeah, so that's the reality today. I think let's wait and see. Also, one good news, I think Marcel has a really interesting point here. Seems like the Hefei government has launched a subsidies of up to 10k RMB for purchases of new electric vehicles that are battery swappable. So that's obviously very, very good for Nio compared to the others. So there's not everything is not bad. Again, the swap infrastructure is taking it's kind of getting a foothold among the users, but it has also to become a little bit, let's say, in the money making for the company and not just be a burden. But anyways, that was the current update for Nio. Essentially, my point of view on the stock price in itself. Again, this is not investment advice. I do believe that we might be in this for a little bit longer still, since they keep doing this kind of over promise and substantially under deliver. Unless they have a huge last 3.5 weeks of March, in which they would do like 15,000 deliveries every single week over the past coming, over the up and coming 3 weeks, which is obviously not realistic. 15,000 deliveries, which is more than the entire month of January or February, right? That's not gonna happen, obviously. But my point is that unless they have like this outrageous over deliveries, yeah, then they obviously not gonna fulfill the targets, and this is why I think we don't still have not, almost into the second week of March of this year, still have not seen anything about the Q4 or earnings. Anyways, thanks for your time. Please like and engage in the comment section, and see you in the next one.